is dangerous. He's hard to tackle. He's impossible to tackle. He's too good, Luke Boost. Kaczynski from behind, couldn't take it. Rode by Impey. He's been dangerous. Had a few looks. Didn't need another. Morrison to Lewis. Already kicked 3. For us to tackle. How about 4? Laird is dominating this quarter. Off to Parnell through the middle. Adelaide's really dominating this quarter. Walker back to Parnell. Nice build-up. Can they make it count? Smith, he'll be caught! Nash gnashed his teeth and mowed him down. This will be some milestone for Hawthorn as well, as much as the wins have not been overly significant this season. That is win 1,000.
It was only a matter of time until it all came together for the mighty Hawks, and indeed they made amends for past disappointments at Marvel Stadium with a 32-point win over the Crows. It's great to be back here on the Hawk Talk podcast to recap a win, and a very entertaining win at that, so let's get down to business. My name is Nick Mason, and Tiz, I know you're itching to talk about a certain Irishman, but who else impressed you this past Sunday afternoon?
Sammy.
Oh yes.
How we started. 2 very, very defensive forwards. I thought that was good.
A little bit bizarre. I mean, we did call for Finn McGuinness to be back in the side. I don't think either of us quite predicted he'd be back in that manner.
Absolutely not. Gave him a role. He performed the role admirably. And then Jarman Impey looks like a natural forward. Who'd have thought? Great, enjoyable evening. Lots of Hawks fans. 1,000th win. 1,000th win. I'm so glad I was there for it.
Value for money is the Hawthorn Football Club for its members. We're still head and shoulders above any competitors, Victorian competitors. I think Geelong's next, and they're about 30 wins off the pace.
Speaking about head and shoulders above,
go on.
Mitch Lewis.
Oh, really? I listed him later in the rundown.
No. You got to get him in the first half of the show, so off you go.
Does his best work in the first half. But why would you work for 4 quarters when you can win the game in a half?
In a quarter.
Well, in a quarter. Yeah, well.
He was tremendous. He was kicking butts all over the shop.
Very good. There it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jordan hasn't heard that one before. A blistering first half, as you say, that really did prove the difference. It was well held beyond halftime, yes, but it was a little bit too late for the Crows because he kicked 5-1 and the final margin was 32 points. So,
I mean, we've seen forwards have an impact like that before in a quarter, but they've never, or in a half, but they've never kicked that accurately.
Hard to miss, though, when you're on the goal line for at least one of them.
But every time he got it, and let's not forget he had so many score involvements.
Yeah, a team high 11 score involvements in all.
And I think we had 11 goals at that point. And he'd had a touch in every one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, he is turning out to be an excellent forward. And you shouldn't be getting that. Like, actually, this is why I bought in the paper today.
Okay.
I wondered
what that was. I haven't seen one of those in a while, actually. Is that the Herald Sun?
It is.
Interesting. Okay.
And, Dad picked it up. He thought I should have a look.
Probably won't let you in next time you have one of these, but anyway.
All right. What you want to do is find the common theme. I'm just reading them out in order of Supercoach points, right?
Okay.
Which is pretty arbitrary. But
I was going to say, I didn't think you were a fan of those.
It does talk to their impact in the game. Mm-hmm. I just want to see if you can find a commonality here.
Okay.
Moore, Hardwick, Lewis, Nash, Mitchell, Scrimshaw, Sicily, Impey, Morrison, Giath, O'Meara, McGuinness, Bruce, Newcomb, Reeves, blank, and I've got to stop at Josh Ward.
Okay, so that's almost the entire team.
Yeah.
Read in the least charismatic fashion I could think of. But anyway, I hope everyone's still with us. What is the thread? Because I didn't know where you were going to stop there, and you've gone through about 13 guys.
None of them are a first-round draft pick used by Hawthorn.
Ah, there it is.
Or even a second-round draft pick.
But Tiz, we have to lose these games to get a good draft hand.
That's incredible.
It is. It's very promising. It bodes well.
Especially Moore, Hardwick, Lewis, Nash. I mean, like, people be yelling, Tom Mitchell.
Yeah.
We didn't pick him.
Yeah.
O'Meara, also. We didn't pick him.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But when you have pick 74 and pick 76, they were integral.
And so the other side of the coin of this, of course, is as we're recording this, this is on the day in which David Noble has been let go by the North Melbourne Football Club. They're clamouring for a first-round pick.
Or two.
Yep. And it just goes to show, if you're a loser club, it doesn't matter what picks you get. If you're a really good club, you can make something out of nothing.
Well, not really nothing. But you let people develop into their potential.
All I'm saying is, Mitch Lewis has picked 76.
Yeah.
And he was written off as a joke. He himself has referred to his arrival at the football club as a meme. That's what Mitch Lewis said. So...
That'd be so, gutting. Like, you've achieved your dream of hitting a list, and they've gone with, he's a hybrid of Sam Mitchell and Jordan Lewis. How quaint.
It's good times, Hawthorn. Good times. Good goof. But, we'll move on, I think. Mitch Lewis, though. I mean, what a superstar. I think he's averaging the most goals a game in the league. Is that right?
Well, yes, he is. And that article you... posted to me today with Adrian Hickmott.
Yeah.
And the impact he's had on Mitch psychologically in that the performance anxiety is gone. He feels like he is the main man. He's been acting like the main man since about, round 7?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
All that aggression, I mean, it's just, he is consistent and he values it. And I guess that's the difference with some of these players who are now starting to hit their straps. You know that they're not going to go below a certain point in their performance now.
Yeah, which is important.
Yeah, and that's when you know they're developing well. So, I don't know. But also, if we got a few first-rounders...
Oh, it couldn't hurt. Because you want your pick of the best, right? You want the best of the best on the table, and then you can have your choice. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think the wins and losses from here, if anyone's worried about sacrificing our draft hand, I think we're going to be okay. The wins and losses will take care of themselves. We are where we are. We're not going to suddenly rocket up the ladder. I just don't see that happening for Hawthorn.
Look, Adelaide were truly awful.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
And we didn't really extend the margin all that much.
No.
After that first quarter.
Their best work was evidently in the third. They came out after half-time with a plan and executed it pretty well.
Anyway, to get McHenry, because I hate him, but I really love him.
If you hated Ned McHenry, this was the game for you.
Yeah, I know, right? And when he kicked it into Hardwick's shoes, that was brilliant. And also, what a prick. Just gaming the system,
We had a question here from Hawk12. Who do you think will be the second forward to partner the destroyer Mitch Lewis for years to come? All good teams have two good tall forwards. Who is that person to kick your bag for Hawthorn? Is it next year's draft pick, or is it Cozzy, Jekka, Callow? Who do we reckon?
Well, look, I've been a little bit weird for a week now, and I decided to take along binoculars to Marvel Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was that bloke in the crowd. Have you ever seen anyone else with binoculars in the crowd?
Well, I feel like the bar has been set at a certain point, because didn't we see recently that someone was at Marvel Stadium with a whiteboard and shuffling around magnets? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay. So you're not
that was not me.
No.
That's another level I'm yet to reach.
Yeah, okay. That was on level 3. So you're normally a level 2 Medallion Club man, but anyway.
Oh, no. No, I wouldn't encourage him. No, but I spent, what I'm going on to say is I spent a fair bit of time watching Cozzy. Yeah, and with the binoculars, I actually enjoyed the setups at the clearances much more. Mm-hmm. But Cozzy does a power of work that you do not see, and he spends a lot of his time not getting in the road of Mitch Lewis.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
It's it was good to watch, and he had a couple of moments where he just put his body completely on the line.
Yeah, it's one of those games where the stat sheet doesn't say much about his game, but
he'd have to be frustrated with how it's going, because he is in position a lot of times, and there were a few times where they were Mitch hungry.
Well, they knew to look for Mitch. And why wouldn't you? He's on fire.
They started dropping in the second half. The reason he didn't get such a good run at it, and he's got to combat this and work it out, because they're dropping people in front of him.
That's right. Yeah. I thought, credit to Jacob, though, that when it was his time to go, he did go. I thought he had some really good moments, in particular.
He got his goal.
Well, that's right. But in the final quarter as well, I mean, he hit up O'Meara and not just blaze away. That's sensational vision. But
the execution of the kick was the thing for me. Great pass.
How did he get out the back like that? That's the last person I thought.
Well, how about the vision from McGuinness, who we've already been talking about? He gets. I think they broke the tag on Dawson, who he thoroughly took out of the game in that last quarter, and then he's the one who puts that kick through. He just manages to get it onto the boot and over the back. So he saw Cozzy was in space.
Yeah.
Now, Cozzy didn't have the pace to sort of burn off his opponent or anything. He's up against Brodie Smith, who's still recovering from being crunched.
So desperate to talk about that, are you? We'll get to it.
Yeah, we will. But, you know, that was a presence of mind. And the other bloke, who I really enjoyed, I was in the Latrobe End City pocket, and Bruce put on a show for us there.
Yeah, I mean, his status as a veteran star really came to the surface, didn't it? He did some good things.
But there's one thing out of this game, when are you going to be years from now and you think, oh yeah, I was at that 1,000th win.
Yeah.
Right? It'll be when Dylan Moore, they decided that they were going to make him an elite midfielder.
Yes, yep, that's right. There's quite a few interesting decisions positionally from Hawthorn this game, even from the first bounce. And we talked about it a bit, Impey and McGuinness up forward, and you sort of you looked at this side and you're like, interesting. I wonder if this will come off. And it did. Everything they tried, you'd probably tick off on.
Connor Nash to the wing.
Yep.
That was something that hasn't worked in the past.
Josh Morris no longer sided forward. He's played as a defender. He didn't have an amazing game.
No, he made a couple of really poor decisions.
Efficiency at 50%.
But then when he didn't have time to think about it, he was fantastic.
Yep.
You know, so when he wasn't thinking about the moment,
yeah,
he just reacted. He took that mark, and then he got the 50 because Keys couldn't hear or something. You know,
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
that was so rough on Keys. But anyway, I thought it was good. I hope he remains in the team too, because we've got a bit of star power to come back.
We need to go through some of these players I've listed in the rundown. I know we've been pinballing all over the place, but we need to ground this with some sort of structure.
I'm starting with Dylan Moore.
Fair enough. 29 touches, efficiency of 86.2%, 5 clearances, just behind Jai Newcomb and Tom Mitchell in that regard. A team-high 28 pressure acts, an equal team-high 7 tackles. He led inside 50s for Hawthorn outright with 8 in total, plus 8 score involvements in all. It has to be in the conversation for one of Dylan Moore's best games for the club. 10
contested, 18 uncontested possessions. That's terrific.
It's a nice little balance, isn't it?
Beautiful balance. You can't ask for much more than that. And then there was a bloke who's had very good shutdown roles in the last couple of weeks. And this week, he decided he wanted a bit of leather poisoning.
It's a good way of putting it. 32 touches for Blake Hardwick with an efficiency of 87.5%. I mean, both Moore and Hardwick, with the sheer accumulation and then the efficiency, is absolutely lethal against an opposition. 7 intercepts as well for Hardwick, 7 score involvements, and scored some coaches' votes as a result.
So Blake Hardwick became an attacking force.
An attacking force indeed, and I got to admit, Tiz, I feel a little bit sheepish, because at some stage of this season, I wouldn't have put him in calculations for the PCM at all. But you consider his body of work in recent weeks. It's been quite incredible, and this is his best game yet.
So he's your pick for PCM now?
They wouldn't be my outright pick, but I'm saying...
because, Sicily, I mean...
Yeah, Sicily.
Yeah, so...
Newcomb's got to be up there as well. I'm saying that he's a sneaky chance for a podium.
Did you think Newcomb looking tired?
I read somewhere today that he was battling injury in the second half, and maybe slowed right down. But, I mean, still an industrious 25-touch game for Newcomb, 6 inside 50s, a team-high 8 clearances. I'm not really concerned with numbers like those.
You forgot about the big stat.
Oh, yes.
1 torpedo.
Oh, of course.
A torpedo punt. That was incredible. He looks good. You know, you see flashes from him, and he's been inconsistent past couple of weeks, but you give him an opportunity, and he's just such a brilliant kick.
I felt like it was one of those games where he didn't need to take the team on his shoulders and carry them home. It was a much more consistent effort, and there were other players to notice, one of which was Finn McGuinness, who we've mentioned already, brought in for a hard tag. Jordan Dawson's numbers slashed, Tiz, well down from his average disposals a game. Finn restricted him to just 15 for the day. He was also held to just 1 mark, 1 rebound, 50, 2 intercepts, and his season average for metres gained was more than halved on this occasion. So Hawthorn rewarded Finn with a chance, and Finn rewarded Hawthorn. The system works, Tiz.
Yeah, it does. I'm glad they released the tag and we got to see Finn go about his own game later on. But, no more preamble. Come on.
It's a return to Connor Corner.
N-A-S-H Nash. N-A-S-H Nash.
Best game ever?
In the history of the league.
No.
Best game
for him.
Yeah, certainly this season. 22 silky smooth touches. Some of those handballs,
Yeah,
in
very
particular,
nice. Yeah.
really hit the mark. He ran at 81.8% disposal efficiency, some really crucial touches, 8 score involvements, and a goal for himself. I call him the accountant, Tiz, because he loves crunching numbers.
We've already got the tax man, Nick. Do we really need an accountant as well?
Yeah, we're onto a theme here with Hawthorn players, aren't we, with this list? But Connor Nash, I mean, what a chase down tackle that effectively changed the game.
It did. Halted momentum,
Yeah.
which, although I said Sammy at the top of the show was fantastic in the way he set up and prepped. During the game, sometimes his tactical decisions can't really influence the momentum. And so his strategy before the game, brilliant, got us up to a great start. And we've seen that in the past, you know. But once the other team adjusts,
And they did.
often
Yeah.
they come straight back and we find it very hard. And it's just moments like that, individual moments. And we've seen it from CJ as well, and we've seen Nash and, you know, having the ability and also the celebration he received from the other players and the
Yeah.
crowd,
Yeah.
which has embraced Connor Nash now. I don't know whether you've noticed that, Nick.
All right. You were way early off the mark.
No, I really enjoy it because he's worked hard and he's got there. It's not like it's not like he makes it look easy, is it?
No.
No.
Had a question here from the Spaghettist at Hawk Talk Pod. Imagine for a moment a Venn diagram of Mark Blixarves and Connor Nash. I see a lot of similarities between the two. What areas of Nash's game does he need to work on to reach that kind of level?
Oh, definitely body work. Blixars is much better using his body in the contest. And
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind for me was contested marking.
yep.
I just don't think that's a particularly great part of Connor Nash's game. It's one that's not tested a lot, to be fair.
But I mean, Connor Nash tackles much better than Blixars does. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So pick your poison, basically.
No,
Well,
you're
a
but I like
Connor
the,
Nash
but
man.
I like the comparison. That was always my hope. Was that kind of model, fast running, tall wingman that you can hit a pass to, make sure he can bring it down. You know, if you can. But I mean, Blixars has won best and fairest at Geelong at full back, hasn't he?
I'm not sure. I don't
So-
pay close attention to Geelong. It might surprise you. But what you wanted for Nash, I remember when he arrived at the club, the impossible matchup. That's what we were spruiking for.
Well,
him.
that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
You want Connor to work on one part of his game that no one else can match him in, and no one else can really nullify him in.
Yeah.
And that's what you want for many players who are either midfielders or in the attacking role.
We need to move into some honourable mentions. I thought one guy that will not be talked about at all, which is probably a shame, is Tom Mitchell. I thought had a reasonably good game.
He's starting to put together a much better workload. And getting to places that he needs to be.
Yeah.
Whereas a month ago, he was well out of position often.
The word for me is influence. We started to build that again. That started to return.
Do you know what I felt? I felt the communication between McAvoy and Mitchell was obvious.
Well, let's move on to McAvoy, because that's his first game back from a serious neck injury.
You couldn't really tell.
No, you couldn't.
Didn't shirk a contest.
By his own admission, he would have liked a more prolific game in terms of the stat sheet. But look, it was great to have him back out there. And the crowd embraced him as well. They were up and about for every possession he got. And
Well, he didn't get a touch in the first quarter.
they got near it, though, and the crowd was excited. McAvoy, his inclusion, it kind of brought to the table that issue of just what are we trying to do? McAvoy and Reeves. So we're playing 2 rucks. And I told you this was the plan. And I'm not saying you disagreed with me necessarily. I think you had some suspicion that this might not be a good idea. And 1 week is a small sample size, I know.
Well, it's not really 1 week now.
Okay, well,
and we'll
fair
get
enough.
to that because every time we've played twin rucks, we've won.
I'm telling you, I think that was the plan. Going off everything that we saw in pre-season,
Yeah.
But
Is it the plan going forward? Because,
Well, yeah.
you know, McAvoy's not around for all that much longer.
No, it's true. It's true. But I think that, in the pre-season it was to rest McAvoy forward, which is exactly what happened from the first bounce. and Reeves was the number one guy.
Did you have Reeves for first goal? Because that
would shock you, but no.
that could pay for the end of podcast season
That's
footy
right.
trip. Bloody good goal, though.
It was a good goal. Very unexpected for a 211-centimetre ruckman to kick that kind of goal. But
Then he's
McAvoy's...
so tall giving high fives. That's dangerous, really. With that much enthusiasm.
Exactly right.
He
yeah.
needs the low fives, I think.
Exactly. You've got to rein in those high fives. You're going to collect people high.
It's just-
McAvoy being back is just great for Hawthorn, I reckon. It settles us. It returns us to what we were trying to do strategically. And finally, after such a long time, we're getting a look at these best laid plans for the preseason.
the other twinning that I see going a long way further into the future.
Can I guess? I'll steal your thunder. I want to guess. Is it going to be James Blank and Denver Granger Barras?
It is.
Yes.
I thought they were all right.
Yeah, well, I think Blank in particular is really impressing me. What was that, his third game?
He just gets so involved in moving the ball forward. He wants the ball. He wants to show up his opponent.
Mm-hmm.
It's he puts a lot of pressure, and then his punching is terrific. 30-meter punches, and
He plays the game with a great deal of zest and physicality and courage and good body work. I mean, he's a big boy. He's
He
a
is.
good matchup for some of these guys. And
do you believe that he forgot to nominate Nick?
yeah.
Do you think that's even in the realms of possibility?
Anyway, we move on. Less said about that, the better.
Wow.
But DGB also deserves credit. I'm not necessarily certain in fact, I know that he didn't deserve a call-up, but he got it, and he repaid the faith, so good on him.
He did. He looked good at times, but I thought that when he collected the ball, he looked a lot better than he has in the past, making better decisions when he does find himself in possession.
I'll tell you what, it certainly helps that Blank and DGB, for guys that have played very, very few games, especially in the case of Blank, that they do play with confidence. They do show it. Like they can hang, like they belong.
We haven't got to Sicily.
No.
Was he the angry version again?
Yeah, and it didn't really cost us. It threatened to at times, but God, it was fun, wasn't it?
We nearly had to give him back the captaincy. It looked like it had a tanty.
That's right. Yeah, he was just supremely entertaining, and that rundown tackle.
Oh, yes.
I say rundown. It was more.
That was McHenry, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was McHenry.
Then he told him about it for a good
did
10 seconds.
a bit of a Stone Cold Steve Austin and just laid into him on the mat, just talking directly into his face.
And then a lonely Adelaide Crows player came over and said, "Would you mind not doing that, James?"
Mr. Sicily, sir. A word. But you know why that whole thing was forced by our defensive structures. Sicily was able to sort of patrol that space and basically dare McHenry. Come on. Take me on.
Yeah.
Take me on.
Yeah.
And of course it failed. But the guy that was guarding that space that confused McHenry as to what to do with the footy was CJ, who I thought he didn't have a spectacular game, but some of that familiar flair was back.
Did you see Sammy giving him a nuggie at the end of the game?
I didn't, no.
So there's a real camaraderie between them. I think he's been down on confidence, CJ. He's had opposition sides work him over, really. So it's good for him to start hitting back.
We do have a number of questions here, a couple pertaining to CJ, one from Tim and one from Michael. First, from Tim here, CJ's woeful kicks after a run through the centre were a blight on yesterday's win. Would you agree that he needs to possibly run for 5 metres less and focus more on the final disposal? And following up here, Michael, does someone need to sit down with CJ and talk disposal? His run and pressure are great, but too often his kicks don't hit targets.
Yeah, well, that happens when you're running at speed. He's not taking the time to slow down. He has a perceived pressure about him at the moment.
Yeah. You got to take into account that he's often dashing through the most guarded part of the ground that the opposition do not want you to use.
Yeah.
And the walls are closing in like the trash compactor from A New Hope. But it's true. He must be under so much pressure with that kick. Do I think that he could afford to use it better? Yes. If that means 5 metres less, as Tim says. Yeah, fair enough.
Look, if he starts hitting targets, look out. And he will.
Yeah.
They're going to be working on that at training. But it is definitely perceived pressure.
You got to understand as well that just the sheer overload of adrenaline that must go through you to have the ball in that part of the ground and the entire Hawthorn fan base coming to life. Like you almost would run too far.
Do you think we should be quiet? Because perhaps he perceives it as someone's getting close, is on his back.
Right, yeah. There's maybe a bit of that happening. So what you're suggesting is, for like a live taping of a TV show, how they might flash up applause. We need one of those. But
silence.
Sotto voce.
It's a visceral thing when you see CJ storming.
Oh, it's one of the more entertaining parts of what Hawthorn brings to the table right now. He's the one that does it the best. We've got a few that can. I tell you what, another guy that we haven't mentioned here, he's not even on the rundown. I feel ashamed of myself. Jack Scrimshaw.
Yep.
Magnificent
Magnificent season.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about PCM before. I mean, he's got to be a good shot. It's a very nice position to be in at round 17, where you can look at the season and go,
we're getting good draft picks, and there's hope in the side.
That's right. There's a few people jostling for that spot in terms of like best in the season. Previous years, it was blatantly obvious, but I like that there's competition at the moment, so that's good. Next question. This one about Jarman Impey. Well, I had a couple about Jarman Impey, actually. Anthony, does Impey stay forward for now? Looked his best for a while. And this one from James as a follow-up. Thoughts on Impey as a permanent forward? Looks very natural. I've always preferred him down there. Can he fit in with Butler, Bruce, Wingard and more?
Now, this is where we start talking about defensive forwards and our lack of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they came in and are able to provide pressure on the halfbacks. McGuinness basically took Dawson out of the game. They were without an exit. Meant Brodie Smith and Laird had more of the ball than you would expect they ought to.
Yeah.
But it worked. And Bruce was just happy to attack.
That's right.
He didn't have to worry about putting pressure on anyone. We were without Gunston, of course, sadly, which is a big hole out of that lineup. Butler goes out as well. When's Wings due again?
Not for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think.
So whether he even comes back at all, maybe, the last couple of weeks of the season, is it worth it? I don't know. If he's fit to play, we know Chad is going to want to play.
Well, I mean, if Impey plays forward for the next few weeks and really enjoys himself, and then his best mate comes in the side, he's back to back flank.
Yeah, effectively. And then I actually thought Impey moving down there made space for Morris.
Yes.
To play that role.
Yeah.
And then what of him? I guess he just misses out. He goes out of the side. There's still so many moving parts of this Hawthorn team. There's a lot that's going to change over the next few weeks, I feel. Do I want Impey to stay forward? It's intriguing. I knew that he could. I would prefer him as a halfback. I think that's where historically he's done his best work. He's put together career best seasons in that position. But I'm interested. I'm leaning forward from my seat. I want to see more. We're playing the Eagles this week. I feel like we could afford to experiment a bit more with that.
Was Bruce played in the midfield? Because I've just had a look and he had 5 tackles. He wasn't remiss in his defensive efforts. It just felt like he was much closer to goal this week for me. And there a couple of times where it just looked like the experience of the 3 premierships was just...
That's what I noticed as well. And it's hard not to when he just breaks that tackle and steps around, snaps one through. It's like, well, that's vintage.
Yeah.
That's just Bruce all over. If you've watched any Hawthorn in the last, decade or so, you've seen that a million times.
There are a couple of times, too, where I thought Adelaide were pretty dumb. I mean, a couple of our players don't have a great left foot, don't have a great right foot, and they still manage to get onto it easy. So, anyway...
This question from Josh. Why do you think we looked more structured with McAvoy back in the team? If I had to guess, I'd say it's because it's the thing that we practiced a million times in pre-season. It was just so well drilled into these guys. They knew exactly how to get things done.
And I think McAvoy's kind of an authority out there.
Yeah, well, just a little bit. He's just our captain. So, and his influence, even with his injury... off-field would be supreme.
Well, it's all about standards for McAvoy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he knows that what he accepts he's going to receive. So, yeah.
And he knows what it takes to be in a great side. He's been there, he's done that, and he'll lead the way.
And he's also been at a club where they got close, but
Can't believe we play them again.
yeah.
Not looking forward to that. Never liked playing St Kilda. Anyway, this question from Liam. How does our long-term ruck future look? Which is a fairly pertinent question coming off discussing McAvoy. We'll get to the VFL stuff soon, but I'm liking Lynch and I'm liking Ramsden so far.
Tell me about Ramsden.
I mean, he's a lanky boy. He's not much of an accumulator, but I feel like he has a decent crack. He doesn't mind getting in and under and getting a contested possession.
Is there a bit of, suave or a bit of personality about him? Or
A little bit. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a workmanlike ruck. Does that make any sense?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like he's got a little bit more flair for a ruckman than I'm used to seeing.
Okay, so we won't be getting Grundy. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think so. Be fun, though.
Apparently he's on the table.
Yeah.
Graham Wright's like, this is an absolute albatross around our neck. Who wants him? We'll pay half his salary.
Who wants him? Let's just look through my contacts. Seem to have a few here from Hawthorn. No,
when I left, you didn't have any rucks. What happened?
All right, you've taken Lynch off our books. Now, do you want Grundy as well? Or? No, Ramsden is obviously a long-term prospect. He's still very green. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from a very small sample size. And as for Lynch, as we'll get to with the VFL recap, Lynch, when he gets on the park, has been more than satisfactory for me.
Yep.
I'm very happy with that pickup. If you could have a little bit better luck next season, that would be fantastic. That's the only thing holding him back. Another one from Liam. How does Warple fit back into the midfield?
Well, he doesn't this year, so...
He doesn't this year, no.
So you'd probably find they'll make room for him in the off-season.
Yeah. There's a lot to play out in the off-season there. I don't imagine Warple gets back. How does Tank look for a spot on the list next year? Keep on doing what he's doing. I mean, he got his opportunity. I thought he had a reasonable, satisfactory game against Adelaide.
So there's 5 changes have to be made to the list. And, of course, one of those 5 can be offered a rookie spot or whatever you're doing. I would say he's shown quite a lot. Like a few weeks ago, I said he's less likely than...
I wasn't going to hold you to that.
I think you should. Because if he gets up from this...
Oh, look, there's other players that are more in danger of falling off the list than him right now. He probably has the greatest opportunity to determine his own future, and it's happening right now for Josh Morris.
Well, I was shocked by the diagnosis for Bramble.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that? I mean, this is...
It's very pertinent to what happens with...
Well, with the halfbacks, yeah.
With Morris.
And with Morris. Maybe a bit of scuttlebutt and rumour. We don't really know how substantiated this is. We've heard that it was in a training incident that he actually got injured, Bramble, and 2 vertebrae significantly damaged, and it seems to be quite a significant injury. Obviously, we know he's gone for the season. That much we already knew, but the extent of the damage seems a bit concerning.
When I think about that, it sounds like the injury Crawford got
right
when some fella at Melbourne hit him in the back. It can be very debilitating, take a long time to come back from those kind of things. So for it to happen in training as well, after we've had a neck fracture as well.
Yeah. Look, I said it last week on the podcast. We've had some absolutely dreadful luck with injuries, and it's just as well we're not really contending. I know that we're trying to bed down a game style and an identity as a club that wants to rise sooner rather than later, but if we were in like a premiership window and we had this sort of luck, it would be absolute pits.
Yeah, it would be like 2014. You can't get past that.
Actually, yeah, that's a fair point. We did live this year, and we won a premiership, the second of 3 in a row. Yeah. So all's well that ends well. Now, Bramble, incident in training where apparently someone took a hanger on him, and that's what did the damage. You got to feel terrible.
Well, I mean, the pack might have fallen on him, but
yeah,
it's still unlucky, and we hope it's just scuttlebutt.
Well, yeah. Hopefully it's just rumour and that no one's culpable of playing a part in what is a significant injury. Anyway, we do move on. This one from Justin. Would love to see CJ play half forward like Frederick from Freo. As a defender, teams try to drag him back to the last line. Would love him to use his speed and evasion in the front half of the ground. He'd give backlines fits.
He would, but you can't have anyone in front of him. It's not really how we're going to structure up, is it?
It is tantalising to think of him terrorising some defenders that way, but I think he's too integral to our drive off the half-back. And the wing is probably the furthest I'd move him up the ground, maybe, I reckon.
Do you know what? I do love that. But I would love Justin's idea of putting him to half forward. That's something you do on grand final day or
That's
a prelim.
you're so right. Yeah.
You go, look, Sergio, you've been great at halfback all year. We don't really have a matchup for you. How about you win a norm, kick 5 off your left?
Yeah. That's when David Hale and Chris Newman, they have a key each. It's like, all right, on 3, and they turn both at the same time, and it opens up, you press a button, and it's CJ to half forward.
And that's why I really enjoyed the start of the game on the weekend, where I could see that Mitchell's strategy had totally swamped the mindset of Adelaide. And they got back on even keel and almost...
Yeah, but the game was... That's the point, isn't it? The game was gone.
Yeah.
And thanks to one Mitch Lewis, the main event himself.
And also we held the ball up. We tried
Yeah.
to control the ball. It was a little bit more mature in the way that we didn't attack the whole game.
Yeah,
I mean, we
that's
didn't
true.
didn't score a goal in the third quarter. Not great,
No.
but
But we also...
we're a developing team.
Yeah, and also held them off well enough that it wasn't a problem.
They were inaccurate.
Well, yeah. But, we still had I was going to say we had our chances. They were pretty poor chances.
Did you enjoy the Bronx cheer for Taylor Walker a couple of times when he demanded the footy?
Well, I have a bone to pick with you. You have joked numerous times on this podcast that I'm into the idea of getting Taylor Walker, when in fact,
I put it forward.
I have accused you of projection. And all I have to say now is, which player from the weekend do you want in your team? Do you want Taylor Walker or do you want Mitch Lewis? Oh, come off it. That's even a question.
Nah, it's.
He
I
was
was actually.
rubbish.
Yeah, he was. But
And he's been handed another year.
was he by Adelaide?
Yeah, Adelaide today have signed him on for another year.
He should have gone somewhere else. He's no good there.
He should have gone to retirement.
Nah, he's still good. Like, I sometimes feel for blokes who obviously had that much talent and didn't achieve the ultimate success or stuff like that. But not really Taylor. It doesn't really well up in me. More for Rewalt and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, what does next year hold for Taylor Walker? Because we know now you can't let him play in the minor leagues. We know what happens when he does.
Yeah, can't be dropped.
No, that's too much of a PR risk, Taylor. Anyway, this one from Adrian. There is definitely a role for Finn in this side, and there is no need for him to be playing Box Hill for the remainder of the season. Would Carl Amon improve this side?
Yeah.
Yes, he would.
Yeah.
As a weapon, frankly, an attacking wingman. We're still looking for one, really.
Remember how Wingard hits up a forward?
Mm-hmm.
That's Amon.
Pretty much.
But younger and faster.
Not injured.
Gets more disposals.
Oof.
It's tantalising, it really is. And it also means Wingard's not playing in the midfield if he's still at the club.
This question from Dean. Will Sam Mitchell have any journalists at his midweek press conference? One way to control the narrative. Perhaps you guys could slip out there and ask your own questions. Can you imagine that? Us as part of the media pack?
Would we fit in?
Well, would we be allowed in?
Do they have a thing? Do they
I
have...
don't know. The second I read this question was like, what kind of security is down there?
Well, wasn't it the case that the AFL have had to step in because there was like one bloke present for the presses of Brisbane versus Essendon?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I'll be meeting the room. No worries.
I wouldn't mind it. Yeah, how do we go about getting media accreditation for the Hawthorn Football Club?
I think you just write an email to AFL House.
And God knows, they listen to fans all the time. So it should be no problem.
Oh, look, I don't want to be a whinger. I'll save it for next week. But ticketing for the game, whatever.
What was your problem with ticketing?
I don't know. I'm in a sort of quasi level where I didn't know where the GA was and where it wasn't, and
it is their stadium, of course.
But it was fantastic to actually sit with Hawthorn fans.
Yes, well, I'm glad that changed, because sometimes you just never know. This question from Dino. Getting nashed, Finn rewarding the faithful in each contest, main event Mitch standing head and shoulders above the rest, Scrim showing his silk, Sicily embodying the soul of unsociable footy. Did I miss anything? I think we've just about covered this game, Tiz, and it's been wonderful to talk about a win. I was hungry for a win, mate. I mean, it's been a while. Obviously, there's no women's footy at the moment. Box Hill haven't been travelling too well. They had another loss on the weekend, sadly, against the Southport Sharks, the second-placed Southport Sharks. It was always going to be hard. 10-14-74, defeated Box Hill 8-11-59. Plenty of fight from our guys. They took them to the limit, but it just wasn't enough in the end.
Howe and Phillips, complete standouts again.
Yep, yeah, the clear standouts of the AFL-listed guys. 27 touches for Howe, an equal team-high 6 clearances, and a team-high 7 inside 50s as well. Phillips with 26 touches, a team-high 8 tackles. As I said, Lynch looked pretty good in his long-awaited return. I'm really satisfied with what he's showing on the rare occasions he does get back out in the park. Cal Porter putting together a good couple of weeks. He's arguably best on ground again for the team. I feel like this is just one of those occasions. I do credit the Southport Sharks for this. Everyone in our side with a bit of X factor.
They're unbelievably professional, the Sharks.
Well, they held them.
Yeah.
They knew who to stop, and they did it. Kavara and Green were down on the usual output. No multiple goal kickers, all singles. I felt one interesting note from the weekend is Jekka being used in defence.
Oh, they're giving up on him as a forward. Is that what you mean?
Not really sure what the go is there. He didn't do too badly in defence.
Do you know who he was playing on? No. Perhaps they were trying to make him learn the ropes on.
I'm not really sure. But yeah, Jekka in defence was a bit of a left field one. But look, I don't know whether it might have been good to have him up forward in the end, because past the wing and half forward, it was a bit of a dead zone for long stretches of that match. We just could not mount anything. It kind of reminded me of Hawthorn of old, really, like the last few years. It was just extremely frustrating to not be able to manufacture anything ever, and almost pinched it in the end. But I don't know, it comes down to a lack of polish when you see stuff like that. It comes down to what Southport were doing to negate us, but also a bit of luck sometimes as well. So it just didn't come together on the day.
So, Dan, how's your pick to come out of the twos?
Nope. I'm not sure what changes I'd be making. I look at Howe and Phillips, and me personally, I'm not rushing them back in. It is officially crunch time now for Box Hill. There's only a few rounds left, and I did say a couple of weeks ago that we could have cemented a spot in the 4, but it's gone the complete opposite direction. Now we're outside the 8, having lost the last 3 games. We're back at Box Hill City Oval this Saturday, 2:05pm, hosting Werribee, who are 6th on the ladder. Toilet Duck has a question, and it is a fantastic question. Who is knocking on the door of selection from the 2s at the moment as we get into Hawthorn versus West Coast at the MCG Sunday, 1:10pm? Tiz, what changes are you making?
Will Day will be available.
He will be available, yeah. This question from Pridgie, who goes out for Will Day? Echoed by Numo as well. And I dare say a lot of Hawthorn supporters wondering just what changes do we make to accommodate Day and whoever else we need to bring in.
Anyone looking tired?
Not that I noticed, but you never do notice these things when you have a good win, do you?
I thought Ward was excellent, and we just need to watch him do his stuff for till the end of the year.
Yep, that's one guy we didn't mention. And
did you notice how often he kicked to Connor McDonald?
Yes, I did notice that actually.
And Connor McDonald back to him?
Yep, that's something on the day I did make note of. And
we're not outside playing kick to kick, fellas.
It was good to see that Ward, I felt, shrugged off some nerves early, and he really settled nicely, and he displayed the kind of composure that he had in the VFL. Like he hit his targets. He eventually became cool and composed, and there is no sense having him back at Box Hill right now. We need him to play these games.
He nearly took a fantastic possession where the ball was coming to him from the left side. He put out his left hand while fending off his opponent, controlled the ball with the outside of the left, and then caught it underneath with the left hand again, and then got tackled. I was like,
I thought what you were describing there was Buddy from the qualifying final in 08 against Lakey.
Against Lakey, yeah. Oh, that was a great bounce. But yeah, like that's exciting. Look, I mean, it's obvious Morris, and we don't want to say it because we want him to get a crack.
Well, he's the one on the fringes. But the question is, do you pull that lever to bring Day back in? I want to say yes, but also I don't want to do it at the expense of Morris. But then,
well, I mean, does Finn have a good matchup this week, or is there no one we need to lock down on?
It just doesn't seem fair.
You're just going to drop him, are you?
No, you're the one who tabled it, not me. It just doesn't seem fair for him to come out of the side. But then there really is genuinely the question of, well, who then?
Well, I mean, Shields can.
Well, as the Medi sub, yeah.
You know, Morris has 5 games where he hasn't even graced the field on his record.
A little bit rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you see his 11 games, you're like, oh, it's quite a number, but no, not really.
So who else? You got the paper in front of you still. You got the list there from the weekend. Who would you take out?
Oh, well, look, Connor McDonald, he only got 88 metres gained and he got 91% disposal efficiency and he only had a couple of tackles, so he'd be worried, I suppose. Who else would be worried? Not many, I would have thought. And why would you make many changes to a team that just won?
Well, it was a cohesive team performance. Like, I know we read out a number of standouts, but I don't know, there wasn't anyone that I would put on the chopping block. No one had an absolutely dirty day where I thought, I need them out of the side. It just wasn't that kind of day.
There is a bloke who was in the side, didn't play, who probably should get a Guernsey on Sunday.
Yeah, you would hope so. This question from Numo here. Will this be Liam Shields' last home game at the MCG? If so, will he start the game? You don't want to send out a club champion and triple premiership player as the sub who might not get a run. Fair point.
Yeah. But they haven't declared that he's retiring either, so you're not going to...
No. Could yet run around next year.
And it is Hawthorn. I mean, at half-time, there's a pretty big clue. They're not going to... Do you know what I mean? They're not really into that. You can come back in a couple of years. Don't worry about it, boys. We'll do you at half-time. Send you around. It'd be great.
That's right. This weekend, the Eagles game will mark an opportunity for Hawthorn fans to finally and properly farewell a few Hawthorn heroes. Jordan Lewis, Ben Stratton, Paul Puopolo, and Grant Birchall are going to go round in cars at halftime.
Is Sam Mitchell going to get in a car as well? Because I recall we didn't get to farewell him.
They might as well. He might be a bit busy. Actually, it depends how far up we are at halftime. That is facetious. The Eagles have had a rough year, but they deserve more respect than that.
No, I don't think so. I remember the Eagles from the early 90s, and they deserve very little respect. Now,
I remember the Eagles from 2015, so good times. On the hottest grand final on record, Tiz.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, I sat in the sun in 2008, so that was the hottest grand final on ever.
Yeah, so those four players, we finally get to farewell at halftime at the MCG this Sunday at 1:10 p.m, which is going to be good.
Be good to see Birch again.
Sad that Silk can't be part of it for obvious reasons, and we don't get Clarko either. What's he up to? Is he coaching North yet? What's happening?
Oh, were you all right this morning?
What do you mean?
Well, you probably got that rictus in the jaw from smiling too much, did you?
Yeah, right. Oh, look, they're a shambles. That's all I have to say about it, really.
You. What'd you do, write a column? Oh, you hate them so much.
I really do.
Yeah.
And yet, the thing I fear the most is that we drop a game to them in Hobart in 2 weeks.
When they pick a coach.
I don't know, it's just...
No.
Last couple of years...
You should be grateful it didn't happen the week we play them.
Actually, probably the number one thing I thought. Like, thank God this has happened now. Because we know what happens when a coach gets the sack and the team
absolutely
comes out
ridiculous stat. I've got to check whether it's true because it's apocryphal. Everyone believes it, but I'm not sure it's real.
They come out firing, and for what? The damage has been done. It makes no sense. Anyway, yeah, that's.
They did have a crack on the weekend though. That was one of their best performances. They nearly got over Collingwood, and then gone.
I know, great.
On a more sombre note, did you notice how the 13 was the best of field on the weekend?
Yeah. The football community mourns the passing of Premiership hero and Norm Smith medalist Paul Deere last week. He lost his battle to pancreatic cancer, sadly. An outpouring of sadness and celebration for Deere's career and legacy, it was quite something to see. The whole football community reflects fondly on what he contributed to football and what he did after football as well. He launched a campaign, Paul Deere, called Dare to Hope, which raises awareness and funds in support of others impacted by pancreatic cancer. This week's game, in fact, against the Eagles at the MCG will mark the Dare to Hope match, which will generate vital money for the Dare to Hope at Paul Deere Pancreatic Cancer Fund, as if you needed another reason to get along. You've got those heroes to celebrate at halftime, and you've got this fantastic cause. So, mate, it was great to get along to the footy to Marvel Stadium. I mean, it's just a sacrifice that has to be made heading there.
An enjoyable jaunt out to Marvel.
That's right, we got a win. It was great to be back seeing a game live and seeing a win live. Every reason to get down to the G this weekend with all that in mind. And also the fact is we're playing the Eagles. Mm-hmm. Really, we should walk away with 4 points.
Right.
I mean, come on.
You're confident, are you?
Well, I would bloody hope so.
Good.
I'd be pretty disappointed. You know, it's either the Eagles or North. Either of those games, to drop those, I'd be pretty bummed out.
Okay, so I'm getting concerned now. That's a lot of wins.
So this is the thing. This is my position on this. Bank those 2 wins, and as long as we're
Can I offer you a draw?
No, I will not be bargained with. Bank the next 2 wins, and whatever we do for the rest of the season, as long as we're competitive and we start betting things down in terms of what we're trying to become, that'll be enough for me. Just get the next 2, please. They're the ones that we cannot afford. That would be embarrassing, either of those, to lose. You're nodding your head. Do you agree with me? You see, what is this expression you got on your face?
Look, all I want to see is, what's the term? Green shoots.
Green shoots.
Green shoots.
Oh, we're getting that. Week to week. It's happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, you might be streaming our show via Spotify or Audible, or maybe you're on SoundCloud. If you're on Apple Podcasts, though, you could spare a minute, and please do, to rate and review our show. That would be wonderful. We'd really appreciate that. We'd also love for you to join us on our social channels. You can get on board with an amazing community of Hawthorn fans over on Twitter, twitter.com/HawkTalkPod, and Facebook, facebook.com/HawkTalkPod. Plus, we're on Instagram, so join us over there. Always great fun after a win, too. Everyone buzzing in the community. Great to see. And lastly, of course, a shout out to our proud, passionate, and paid up Patreon subscribers who keep the lights on at Hawk Talk Pod HQ and help us to keep making content. If you like what we do here and want to support us, get some sweet bonus content in the process too. Hop on patreon.com/HawkTalkPod. You can sign up for as little as the price of a cup of coffee, tis, and make a very real contribution to making the show what it is. All the details are online. Head to patreon.com/HawkTalkPod.
Well, I've been looking forward to that recording since the final siren.
Absolutely, mate. It's been nice to sit down with you and reflect on this win. Had quite a few little sub-stories and narratives going on throughout that match. As you point out, the number 13 represented very well by Dylan Moore. Main event, Mitch Lewis.
1000th win.
Connor Nash's tackle.
And goal.
Yeah, Finn McGuinness doing the blanket job.
Blank doing a blanket job.
And for me, I've been banging on about Josh Morris for weeks. I finally got to see him and I thought he was satisfactory.
Yeah, he thought he was banging. Yeah.
Just something else. Another storyline from this game, which I only noticed after the fact, because we were both at the game, right? We were both at the ground. But the coverage after the fact on social media revealed that our whole AFLW side were in the stands.
Oh, yeah. And was that pre or post? Was it a recovery session? Or
because of the best and fairest. Yes, VFLW Best and Fairest happened in the past week as well. Congratulations to Jordan Mifsud, who took out top honours there, and well-deserved. Runner-up was Christy Stratton, who put together a magnificent season in front of goals.
Top goal scorer.
There you go, yeah. It was equal top, wasn't she, with Jessie Williams? Anyway, she was one of our best. And third was tied between Emma Humphreys, who has moved on to West Coast. She'll be in their AFLW side. And Dom Carbone, who you'll remember, Tiz. Bit of a shout out from Meg Hutchins last week as a one to watch for our AFLW side.
Yeah, and the shirt number.
And the Guernsey number, that's right. Get Dom Carbone's number on your back when those numbers are in fact released. They're in the vault still. I can't wait for that. Anyway, I thought that was a nice little note to end on. The whole family was there, Tiz. We were there. You had all the AFLW players there. Some, it was a well-attended game for what it was. 2 bottom sides, but I felt like the atmosphere was good.
I really enjoyed the atmosphere this time. Even if I had to keep looking at some bar that they were trying to flog on the adverts instead of looking out to see what was actually... Anyway, I'm whinging again. I just hate the stadium. Oh.
Well, we're going to be back at the G. 1:10 p.m. this Sunday. It's Hawthorn versus the West Coast Eagles. Get along for Dare to Hope. Get along for our heroes in attendance as well from Premierships past. It's going to be a great afternoon. And we will see you there. We are a happy team at Hawthorn.